So the roots of the crisis. So the crisis we know started in the US, in the subprime mortgage markets and so on. And a plausible narrative could say that, if you go back to the 70s when the Keynesian model was reached the point where it was saturated, there was an effort to cover the gap by credit, by loans, so that you support demand. And this, combined with the deregulation that you saw in the 90s in the financial markets, it created bubbles which eventually set off the spark or the explosion that spread the crisis, the credit crunch that led to recession and led to debt problems in Europe. But I think, we are dealing with a system. We have now capitalism, which is a system of production which is global. It's all around the planet. And like the planet itself is spherical and there is no start and end in it, it's difficult to say whether there was a specific reason behind this crisis or if this is one of the crises that we see in capitalism, recurring every few decades. And so I think what is most important is to think about the two questions that are posed in every crisis. The first one is who pays for it? And the second one is what is the situation when we get out of the crisis? What is the new stability point, the new stable point that is established after the crisis? And on both these fronts, we are now, the workers, the working people are now on the losing side, because we see austerity measures causing very high unemployment, causing poverty in the south of Europe, and the REITs have not yet paid, the bankers have not yet paid their fair share, and while they were the ones who were the controllers of the system that created the crisis. And on the other hand, you see a restructuring and a mere elimination of workers' rights in Southern Europe through the memoranda and the measures that are so in Greece, for example, it is much easier now to fire people than it was before the crisis, while it should be the opposite, right, to fight unemployment and so on. First of all, stop legal and illegal tax evasion from the rich, make them pay their share, use the money to fight poverty. On the other hand, reverse the trend of reducing workers' rights that we see right now, and instead strengthen them and fight unemployment, fight poverty. And this is what we are fighting for. And I think the only way to get this is to get political power, to have an overthrow of the governing blocs that have been dominating European politics and governments for the past 15, 20, 30 years. So it is clear now that both the right-wing parties and the Social Democrats, who are the traditional ruling parties in Europe, are fully determined to go through with this, what you would call, in a more traditional language, we would call reactionary transformations. And we came close to achieving this in Greece in past June, and we hope to, through the struggle, through the movements in Greece, to get a second chance for that pretty soon. And we also hope to see political changes in other countries of the South, Spain, Portugal and so on, where you have seen movements, but so far the parties that have been alternating in power for the last 20 years are still holding strong. And that's what we are hoping for. We know that it will take time, but we are in it for the long run. We are not tired, we are going to fight for it, and we hope we will win. Well, there seems to be. So, I'm not very familiar with the Asian situation, but I have talked to friends and comrades from Asia coming here. It was very interesting for me. And what I learned is that, first of all, the recession that is coming in Europe, well, in the south of Europe, we already have deep recession. Greece has been in recession for 5 years now, and but there is definitely a slowing of growth and of demand in Europe, and Europe is one of the larger importers from Asia. So in the last few months there have been we have seen some drop in exports from China, India and so on to Europe, and this is of course a problem for Asia, but at the same time you have looming food crisis, you have environmental crisis, and all of this create an explosive environment where anything would happen at any time. So I'm not sure how this is going to impact Asia or what the lessons could be. Seems that there is more lessons the other way. So you had back in 1997 very serious economic crisis in many Asian countries, and I've talked to people about it. I was amazed by how similar the progression of events. Although we have different situations, we have a common currency area, the Eurozone in Europe and so on. But I was amazed to see how similar, both in the economic and the political levels, the play out of events was in Asia to what we are seeing now in Europe. And I have been warned that from the experience of these Asian friends and comrades, that if we don't stop this policy soon, we are looking at 20 years of poverty for our people in Europe, and that's the lesson I'm going to take back to Europe from my comrades.